podcast, Cultivating Market Capacity Through Peer Exchange. Today is our third episode of the series, and we have our guests from Local Roots Market and Café. This podcast is brought to you thanks to the support of the USDA Local Food Promotion Program grant. I am Ana Leon, the Regional Program Manager at ACEnet, or the Appalachian Center for Economic Networks, the lead organization for this grant. ACEnet is a regional nonprofit working to build the capacity of the region's economy by supporting entrepreneurs and strengthening food systems. So let's begin.
Welcome to the podcast, and thank you for your time. Thank you for being here, Adam.
Thank you very much for having me.
Yeah. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, my name is Adam Schwieterman, and I'm the Executive Director of Worcester Local Foods Cooperative, Inc., DBA Local Roots Market and Café, Worcester, Ohio.
Awesome. So why don't you also tell us a little bit about yourself, like a little bit about your background and how did your path lead you to Local Roots?
Yeah, I'm born and raised in Ohio. I've spent most of my life here and grew up on the western side of the state over where the land is really flat and there's a lot of corn and soybeans. If you took a picture of it, it might look quite a bit like Indiana or Illinois or Nebraska,
Yeah.
But over here on the eastern side of the state, it's a little bit hillier and kind of the end of the Appalachian mountain range, not quite like it is down in Athens where you're living, but
we have a
little bit more hills here. And I got moved up here for work. I used to work for a big food manufacturer, Frito-Lay, the chip company.
Oh, wow.
And they have I think still their oldest continuing manufacturing plant in their entire fleet in North America is in Worcester, Ohio.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. So I got in, and I was into food from a very early age. My mom is an exceptional cook and always has been, and kept a garden. My grandpa owned a grocery store, her dad did, so it's just kind of in our DNA, I think, a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And so I had a passion for food at a young age, didn't know what I wanted to do with my life, and was in college and chose just a general business track with more of a supply chain focus.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what got me into Frito-Lay.
Yeah.
I got transferred up here, worked for them in 5 years total. But then at some point, developed more of kind of like an entrepreneurial bug and found Local Roots and actually started a business out of our shared use commercial kitchen.
Awesome.
So Local Roots is a market, but it also has a kitchen component to it where small businesses can go in and rent the space on an hourly basis. And so I had, and still do, very, very part-time, operate a food truck business. And we go out to big music festivals all around the country and sell food. And so we would use the commercial kitchen to prepare the food so that when we went to the music festival, we weren't making everything on site.
Yeah, that's smart.
Yeah. And it was a great resource for me. And I was interested in eating healthy and being able to source locally. Like people that go down and shop at the farmer's market, you might just get one or two things there. I was kind of one of those people. Like I would go down and get my honey and feel really good about it, and still do. But I always joke, like nearly as infected with the local food bug as I am today, until I started getting involved with Local Roots more seriously. Outside of just being a kitchen renter, I became a board member, and then the manager that was there at the time stepped down, and I stepped into her role and started working there, and that was in 2018, so 8 years ago.
8 years.
Yeah. And that's kind of my Local Roots history. And now I've done, almost everything at the store, from sweeping and mopping to running the checkout registers to fixing IT problems. Now it's more grant writing and partnership work like this. But also today I was trying to get the stereo to pair with the Bluetooth machine. So still, back and forth quite a bit on both of those things.
Yeah, that makes sense. So tell us more about what is Local Roots. You mentioned it's a market, it's a commercial kitchen. What's their mission and how long has it been open?
Yeah, the full background on it goes a very grassroots, community oriented startup, and there were people in our community that were interested in this idea, very passionate about local food and healthy food. This particular area in Ohio is ripe for what we now call specialty crop production. But we actually, in this county, we still grow a lot of food for human consumption. And so there were people in the community that were looking at the downtown farmers market, which is still around today and very vibrant and critical part of our community, but wondering like, could we expand on that and do an indoor market where those foods just weren't available on Saturdays, 5 months out of the year. Like, could we have it 5, 6, 7 days a week?
Yeah.
And they started meeting at the public library and hosting community interest groups. And there seemed to be like a critical mass of enough people that would want to support something like this. But my understanding of it at the time, I wasn't around then, but is that they also understood, those founding members understood the idea that the organization could have a much more profound and long-term sustainable impact on our community if they decided to register it as cooperative, which a cooperative entity is something kind of in between like a large publicly traded company and a nonprofit. And so the way ours works, and you can register them in a lot of different ways, but the way that Local Roots is cooperative set up is that anybody can come in and buy a share, but you can only buy one. So you can't have, a concentration of wealth and power where somebody could get all of the voting rights because they could buy, if a super mega rich, person wanted to come in and buy, 100% of the company. We're not set up for that.
Yeah.
And also you can't sell your shares. So some cooperatives, you could do that. With ours, you have a share. If you want to exercise your right to vote or whatever, you can. So that would go toward like board elections, for example. Long-term strategic decision-making goes in front of the co-op membership, but it works a little bit more like a representative democracy, like a small city council, where the co-op members elect board members and the board members and then tasked with overseeing the health of the organization. So that way, and what I was saying before, kind of runs like a nonprofit in that way. So we have a board, and the board are, interested community members that volunteer to help oversee things and make sure that it is going in the right direction. And, that's the background, I guess, on the legal structure. How the organization actually works has really changed over time and kind of a cool and very, very limited. We're just one store in one small city in northeastern Ohio, but to our understanding, a lot of people credit us with kind of being revolutionary or pioneering this local food for-profit retail market space. Being one of the first of its kind in the country, I remember seeing articles written up by the Washington Post, when we first opened about, this idea of like this new thing coming onto the market. And they started out with card tables and linen cloths, and the producers, like the farmers, actually standing behind them and selling them. And their first days in sales, and then grew to the point where checkout counters were built, got a point of sale system, started taking the sales. Everything was set up on consignment. So for listeners who might not be aware of it, consignment's a model where traditional market retail setup is that the retailer buys the product, marks up their profit margin, and then turns around and sells it. And the consignment model is more, you'll see them in art galleries, for example, sometimes where the retailer doesn't buy the product, it's there on the shelf. And if it sells, then the retailer takes that money from the transaction and then pays the vendor back a percentage of it. And Local Roots started that way with food, which had a real advantage to it, pros and cons to everything, but the advantage of it was that the producers, because they're taking on all of the risk, they get a much higher percentage of return
Yeah.
on their investment.
Yeah.
And right now we're running at about 27% average that we take for every single sale that goes through the register. But that means the remainder, 33% or 73%, excuse me, goes back to the producer.
Yeah.
Where if you were going to a grocery market or some other retail model, they might only get 40 or 50%
Yeah.
of their money. So there's more risk on the producer's end, but we waste very little. I mean, less than 1% of all the stuff that's produced in the store goes to waste, and the producer gets a higher rate of return than they would on the average. So we like to argue or push that it's kind of a small business incubation opportunity too. It helps with business resiliency and farmland preservation, and it's good for small businesses that are getting started that really need that high degree of cash flow.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And so now we've grown to the point where we have this market. We support 150 to 250 producers every year.
That's amazing.
On consignment. A coffee shop, a lunch, like cafe kitchen, where people can come and get lunch 7 days a week.
Yeah.
And that's we have a chef of the day concept, so every day of the week's a different chef. And that also kind of helps small businesses get up and running. If you make something in the commercial kitchen, like a hot sauce, for example.
Yeah.
And we have a great hot sauce producer that sold out of our cafe for years. They would use their hot sauces in lunch items. And so people would be able to try the hot sauces as they were coming out and, experience things that way. And we have an artisan room as well, and have just bought a building next door to us, which you and I are sitting in right now. Very, very rustic, old. This building that we're sitting in, right across the street from the existing Local Roots building, is being renovated to kind of expand our existing model.
Cool. Yeah. So I guess that I'm also curious, for someone who's like only familiar with a traditional grocery store, you will say that the main difference is the consignment model.
Well,
or how would you describe that difference?
Yeah, I think for us, when you walk in, you're going to see a lot of products that you don't see elsewhere. 80+% of the products that we sell here are strictly local. Like, they come from small, independent, mom and pop shops. And some of them, most of them, are just an incredibly high quality.
Yeah.
Because it's somebody's passion. It's their life project that they're putting into this. It's not a mass produced thing. So when you see the market, it looks familiar. Like, we have aisles with signs overhead that tell you where to go. We have shopping carts. It has the bones of a traditional market store, but it doesn't feel like it once you get in there and you actually see the products that are on the shelf. And then the other difference too is because we're on this consignment model, the producers are stocking their own shelves as well. So when they're coming in, they're on the floor stocking the shelves, and the consumers are meeting the producer there. So it's a great opportunity if you're really interested in food to ask, the honey producer, well, tell me about your honey. Where does it come from? Why is one color darker than the other? And the farmer then, in that instance, or the chef, the baker, the artisan, can make that direct connection with the consumer. Yeah. And they can really learn about what it is that they're buying. And in this day and age, when everything's coming off of, Amazon, or when you go into a Walmart, I mean, the idea that you get to meet the person that's making your thing is just not even thinkable. Yeah. And here it's our everyday life.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love that. And I know that there's a membership system within Local Roots. So tell me a little bit more about that, and what role does it play? Yeah,
so two parts. One, there's the legal structure of the membership, which is about being a co-op member. Gives you equal share ownership of the entity. So right now we have 3,500 members almost.
Okay. Oh wow.
And that goes to a household.
Okay.
The benefits do. So anybody that lives in that household can come in and shop, and then they get discounts on their sales as well.
Awesome.
things are cheaper for members. We do special events just for members, really trying to make a community feel out of the whole thing. If you're not, it's not like a Costco thing where you have to be a member to shop here. But if you are a member, those sales get tracked. Excuse me. And then you can accrue loyalty dollars that you can spend around the store.
Oh, cool.
Based on your savings. But some people just don't want to be members, and we understand that completely, and we don't want to turn people away. But we like the idea that people, want to be a part of the organization and the structure of the whole thing.
Yeah.
And so we try to encourage that as much as we can.
Awesome. And so can anyone be a member, or is there a cap on how many members are you all going to have at some point?
Yeah. For $50 or for $40 in June, you can come and buy a membership.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
You should buy a membership.
I should. But that's awesome, and it's great that anyone can join.
Yeah, and then it's an important part of our business model too, because if people want continued access to those savings and sales, they have to give that $50 renewal fee every year. And so every year from, at least a couple thousand people, we have them chipping in an extra $50. So we don't do these kind of like sustaining membership campaigns as much as like, when you hear it on NPR, they're like, we really need your support kind of a thing. But it happens every day at the register. When somebody comes to check out, they say, people at the register will say, what's your member number? Somebody will say, I don't have a membership. And it's like, well, do you want to learn more about the membership? Some people just say, no, I'm busy, go away. Let me shop. But other people are like, yeah, tell me about it. What does that mean? And a little sales pitch happens, and it's our opportunity to explain to them why we're different than a traditional grocery store, and why we're worth supporting, and how your membership goes to work, and preserving this kind of ideological, local food place.
Yeah. And you said that this is an annual fee.
Yeah. Cool. And it happens all the time. People sign up and they choose not to renew their membership, and they'll always be a member of the organization legally, but as long as they want to be, but they don't get the continued access to the savings and sales if they don't renew. So it's kind of a hook, marketing hook. Yeah,
that makes sense. But it sounds like you've been very successful. Like you have a lot of members.
Yeah. And I think it's because we try to make it valuable too. Like every week we do a splash sale where it's buy one get one free or buy one get one half off. And if you're like, one of those people that are shopping for a deal, if you like coupons and that type of approach to shopping, you can actually save money with your membership. Where we do something that's frozen, and we do it buy one get one free.
Yeah,
you can go buy 10 of them or whatever, and your membership paid for itself in a day.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay, and now I want to ask you a little bit more about the producer side. So it's a consignment model. What kind of producers do you think that thrive more in this type of system, and which producers maybe this system is a little bit more challenging?
Yeah, I think the consignment model is very approachable, especially for new producers, smaller producers that one need that higher margin and don't mind keeping a very, very close eye on their inventory. We have an inventory tracking system, so they can look in the computer and see exactly how much they sold of something. For a lot of our producers, we're their only outlet. They sell at just one place.
Okay.
When you get to the point where you're a little bit bigger, if you were a business that was doing $1 million in sales a year, or $5 million in sales a year, or whatever, like these, still small companies, relatively speaking, but for us would be like massive. I don't think that most of them, as big and complex as they are, they want to be sending product to a store and not getting paid for it right away.
Yeah.
And another point where I do see it faltering sometimes, and this is a big discussion that we have in our cohort of small local food retailers, is on the produce side of it. Because I think a lot of it's a highly perishable product.
Yeah.
And I think for some of the produce farmers, it would be nicer if they just got paid for it. They don't have to ask questions. They don't have to wonder if it's sold or not. And we could put it in an order and tell them, hey, bring us 2 bushels of this, tomorrow or next week or whatever.
Yeah.
I do think that there's some opportunity to improve on that and being more supportive of the produce vendors, because I can see both sides of it. And some of our producers have been with us on consignment forever and they don't mind because they like the higher margin that comes with it. They grew something from seed. A lot of them are organic, so they're out there picking bugs and weeds every single day.
Yeah.
And they grow the thing, they package it, they put it on the shelf, and they don't know if they're going to get paid for it. And that's a lot to ask of somebody that's already kind of working in a tough market.
Yeah.
So I could see that being an area for improvement.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, just to clarify, all your producers, they all are on consignment?
No,
No.
we have, in that when I got here, I think there were like 5 items to be bought and marked up.
Okay.
It was a small percentage. And it was one of the things that I noticed early on was exactly what I was saying, how there's some bigger producers that just don't want to just ship you something and hope that you sell it.
Yeah.
Like we have a really popular, I don't know if would know this or not, but there's this thing called the West Side Market up in Cleveland. It's an old open air, indoor, but
indoor, outdoor.
Yeah. And right up by the lake, and very, very popular destination for people all over Cleveland, but tourists also go there regularly. And they have this long-standing anchor tenant there called Ohio City Pasta. And so it's fresh made pasta, and they have gnocchis and pappardelle and linguinis, and they sell it fresh there at the West Side Market, but they also package it for retail and sell it frozen. And so I remember first getting involved in Local Roots, and we didn't have a fresh pasta, and I wanted to eat fresh pasta, and I was like, we should reach out to Ohio City Pasta. And we reached out to them, and they were just like, no, we're not interested if it's consignment only. And it started to scratch this part of my brain where I was like, this consignment model does have its limits. I mean, just because like we don't want to buy things in support of the producers, and for people can't see me, I'm putting like air quotes around that because there's 2 sides to that argument. Like, is that the right way to do things? We were just very, very heavily invested in this consignment model. Yeah. And if we could start to crack that open and look at things that we could buy and start to mark up by still being kind of true to our values of the types of products that we're bringing into the market, then we should do that. And it started, I think it didn't start with Ohio City Pasta, but kind of did for me. And now I'd say 20 to 30% of the things that we sell out of the market are actually more of a traditional buy markup sell arrangement. Yeah. That's cool. And I feel like it also provides your customers with more opportunity, and like it makes things easier for your customers. Yeah. And there are examples of, and I tell people all the time, if you're going to start a store like this, there's a million different ways to do it, and none of them are perfect or more right than another per se. But one area that we've really been able to grow is because we're willing to take on purchasing those things. And we also, when I got started, we're in a very, very strictly like local only approach. Yeah. But people just don't shop that way. Yeah. And there are all sorts of amazing products out there that are, fit our value structure, our value systems, the kind of food that we want to eat and the kind of food we want to support. And they're local to that area. Yeah. But they're not local to us. Yeah. So we didn't have spices in the market for the longest time. Yeah. And it's like people are buying this amazing food, that's local and homegrown and organic or pasture raised or whatever. And then they're going to their spice cupboard at home and getting like McCormick spices and putting it on. And it's like, could we offer something better than that? Yeah. And we found a spice company that does single origin, traceability, fair trade, a lot of direct to, farmer to consumer relationship kind of marketing. and it's just perfect for us. And the quality of the spices are so good. And now we carry all of their products. And so when I'm cooking at home,
Yeah.
I can actually make an entire meal out of things that I only bought from Local Roots.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we saw our sales when we started doing that. I got here in 2018. I started working, like I was saying, and we were doing 500,000 in sales a year out of the store. And out of the same store today, we're doing 2.5 million. So some of that is just making it a place where you can actually go and buy a full basket of goods as opposed to an indoor farmer's market where you're only getting one or two things.
Yeah, and it's what you're saying. People are gonna buy those things anyway, and if they can support local business while doing that and getting better quality ingredients or products, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. And of course, like expecting that a small area can produce every single item is impossible. Like it's unrealistic.
Right.
And you're not competing with other local producer that is also doing spices, but you're not buying from that one. It's not that case. Yeah. That makes total sense. And how would you say, or I'm guessing that you have some producers that are very successful in the store. How would you describe those producers and what makes a producer more successful than another?
I think for the producers, I think it's a really important dividing factor to look at some of them and understand, like, they really are running this and selling through us as a hobby.
Mm-hmm.
It's a secondary income. They're passionate about what they're doing, but they're not putting their life on the line for it, their heart and soul, taking out business loans, writing business plans.
Yeah.
Leveraging their house to be able to have access to resources so they can grow their business.
Yeah.
And looking at that in two different ways. And I think if you're on the hobby side of it, like, an incredible passion for quality is really important.
Yeah.
And if you start with that, then when you go to grow, if you choose to grow, I think understanding that, for us anyway, that we don't have to be your only market outlet.
Yeah.
Some of them try really hard to grow as much as they possibly can inside of our market and don't look outside of our market a whole lot.
Yeah.
And for the businesses that are destined to grow, those producers start looking outside of us very early on. And I always think that's a great thing. It should be.
Yeah. Yeah. And this is more of a philosophical question, but what are some key lessons you've learned about bringing local food to retail in a way that builds community and economic impact?
Yeah. Wow. So people love good food everywhere. I think it's, I joke all the time, like, people eat everywhere, and despite, differences in taste buds and, whether you eat with chopsticks or a fork or with your hands or whatever, good food is good food.
Yeah.
And your body knows it internally. Like, when you eat something, even if you don't know what it is, if it's nutrient dense and it has good flavor to it and it's prepared well, it's good. And so there's some kind of just archetypal, like, universal truths that exist in food. And if you can work through those and find a way to magnify that and share it with people, it's going to resonate with everybody. It goes through political divides, whether you're a Republican, a Democrat, an independent, whether you spend half of your day on social media or you don't ever turn it on, whether you're, from another country or you've never left Wayne County, Ohio, where we're located, you're going to be able to resonate with the kind of stories that we tell and the products that we're putting out. Yeah. Because everybody eats, and I think that for us, the direct consumer to producer marketing really goes a long way. And people want to be a part of something that they believe in. Yeah. And if we're making an effort to try to provide more food, and quality food security to our community, and we're showing people how we're doing that, I've noticed they light up. They're excited about it and they believe in it.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, but of course, doing this is not always easy, and there are challenges. So, what are some of those challenges?
I mean, I think that whole thing of like, this was easy, everybody would do it, has been a challenge. Because for a long time, and the grant program that we're working under right now has actually been a huge help to me. I would joke sometimes where I'm like, I didn't know if there was anybody else out there. You know, I felt like the things that we were struggling with were trying to figure out how to run a market like this. There aren't a lot of others out there. And so we felt like we were facing a lot of problems for the first time.
Yeah.
And, you know, learning a lot of hard lessons along the way. And also working with so many small businesses that have high quality standards, it just raises the cost of the product. So, you know, and I'm completely empathetic with it. I struggle with it myself, but the products in our store are expensive. And if we want to be there for our community in all the ways that I was just kind of, you know, putting on a pedestal and admiring, we also have to figure out a way to be there for our community, for the people that can't afford to spend $10 a pound on chicken breast, for example. And if you want your products to be, you know, small batch, you know, hand produced, pasture raised, organic, fair trade, you know, any certified B corporation, and put every single label on there that you could want, it's going to skyrocket the price of something. And then we're also trying to give the producer back the highest return on their value that they can. And that just doesn't make for a cheap shopping experience all the time. And so in terms of challenges, I think that's the biggest one, is like, we want to be there for everybody as much as we can, but the big food institutions out there, they have so much economies of scale. They're so sophisticated, and they drive the cost down. You know, like the Walmart everyday low price kind of a thing. And inflation is rampant everywhere, and you know, wages aren't going up as much as what the cost of things are. So people's pocketbooks are getting pinched. And if they have to make a decision about coming to us and buying a basket of goods, and it's going to cost, you know, 50% more than it would if you went to Aldi. You know, they have to make tough decisions about how to do that. And so we're constantly working on trying to figure out how to either make the products more affordable or engage with our consumers and our producers and educating people on the value of what they're buying. Like, is what you're putting in your body good for you? And is that an investment that you're not going to get sick later, you know, and or you're going to feel better, or maybe you don't have to eat as much because it's more nutrient dense. So those types of value proposition arguments are critical to us, but also challenging, because at the end of the day, if you're, you know, a strapped, like, you know, I'll give a, you know, hypothetical scenario, a single mother with 3 kids and 2 jobs, and she just has to get food on the table, like, we might not be the place that she's going to go. You know?
And that's the reality of a systematic, like, more complex issue, right? That it's too hard for one store or one nonprofit to solve. But I think that you're building Local Roots and other nonprofits, some of like our partners in this grant, are slowly building on that small change, you know, like taking those small steps towards something better.
And I think that's the challenge for everybody in this day and age, is understanding that the things that you do, the efforts that you make, if you're trying to take the high road and do the right thing, you know, even though you didn't solve all the world's problems, you still did a little thing. And that was worth it.
Totally. And the next question is a little bit more for the producers, is directed towards those producers that might be listening to us. And I'm curious, from what you've seen in all these years, what are some common mistakes producers make when entering the system, and how can they do better?
Hard to generalize. Everybody's so individual in their approach. But I think what we see is that a lot of the small businesses that are getting started understand that they're going to have to do some planning, and it's hard to know how to plan. You don't want to invest the time in building out your financial model and doing cash flow projections and writing out a business plan and putting out scenarios. Well, if this doesn't work out, then what am I going to do?
Yeah.
And they will just default to like, I'll figure that out later. And then that becomes a little bit of their identity, where they're like, I'm scrappy, I'm entrepreneurial, nothing can stop me. It's just persistence is everything. It doesn't matter how many times you fall down, it matters how many times you get up. And they wear that like a coat, and it becomes like who they are. And that has value. It does. But it's also a very serious investment for a lot of these people to chart off on a small food business endeavor. And I would never want to discourage somebody from doing that. I did it. It was one of the best decisions I ever made. We get all these producers that come in through us that are having these same kinds of ideas. And I see them and I'm so happy for them to be able to go out on that journey. It's like maybe they've spent a lifetime working for other people and they want to go out on their own. And I would never recommend somebody not do that. But I would, and I do regularly encourage people to think very proactively about what they're doing. And just because you don't know doesn't mean you can't work on it. Write down your fears and your concerns and your hesitations and meet with business planning consultants, even if there's a local, ACEnet or whoever that can help you work through those types of things, a chamber of commerce or an economic development council or a small business administration office, or just a friend. Maybe you have a mentor or a cohort or a neighbor or somebody that if you ask, they would sit down with you and talk, and you could work through some of those things. I think an ounce of prevention is a pound of cure in those types of environments, because when that thing comes up, and it always will, you didn't anticipate, it's not like you hadn't thought about it before. You had, even if you don't have the solution, you're a step closer because you're not so surprised by it.
Yeah. So is there a farmer's market here in Worcester?
There is, yeah.
And what has made Local Roots successful? Like, what do you think has been the key to make it a successful business?
I think the thing that I was saying before about food just being so universal, and it being a community endeavor. A lot of the support of the organization comes from people that are there and active and working in it. And when you have 200 local producers selling in a place, then they're telling their friends. In the age of social media, they're all posting and they're saying, come down to Local Roots. I'm doing this new thing. And so it's really just like a lot of small community support. Yeah, because it's like, it's your neighbor that's making it. Like, sure, we're going to go down and get their new thing that they're putting out. And I think that is like a crowdsourcing, before it was, what we call it today, where people are just like all pitching in stone soup kind of idea to make this thing work. Yeah. And some of that stems back from the farmers market. I mean, some of our very first vendors that sold here and some of our first board members that, before there was even a store to operate out of, and it was just an idea, they were small food producers.
I don't know if this happened in the history of Local Roots, but was there some sort of a structural change that made a big difference for Local Roots success? And I think maybe you mentioned this thing about purchasing other things that are not local. I don't know if that was like a turning point.
Well, I just think there have been like hundreds of turning points. Yeah. And you look back, I mean, when you started something like this, it's maybe like raising a child, where you're just like, you look back and you're like, I can't believe how much it's grown up, But it really started out as like an idea. And then there was a building, and then they got it for sales, and then they bought their first cooler, and so you went from just being like dry stock and, you know, 1 day a week, or the farmers selling their things off of tables, to actually like having a cooler where we could do dairy and eggs.
Yeah.
And that turned into 2 coolers, and now we have 30 in the market, you know. In 2012, 2013, we received grant funding. So infrastructure for grants, or grants for infrastructure, excuse me, is one that I would recommend for anybody that's kind of operating in this community benefit type of space. You know, as a co-op, we were more, you know, eligible for a lot of grants in the way that nonprofits are.
Yeah.
And there are some grant programs out there that do support just strictly, you know, for-profit businesses. So you can look for those things as well. If you're a small, you know, independent producer, or you're interested in doing something like this, go look for those. But through the USDA and the Office of Rural Development, and you know, Northeastern Ohio, we're considered rural here.
Yeah.
So rural development grants are available to us. But they started the cafe kitchen and the commercial kitchen with grant funding through that. And I think, you know, that us having a market where we sold food, and then starting an artisan market that was adjacent to it, you know, in the same building, supported off-season sales. So it's like when the produce dies off, what are people going to buy? And we had all these amazing artists that were coming in and selling pottery and jewelry, and you know, that kind of added more of like a whole basket, and you know, helped out with the seasonality of the produce. And then you add a commercial kitchen and a cafe kitchen in, and then you have these producers that are making things. And so it was just like one step after the other after the other. You know, one for me, in the time that I've been managing here, we really started investing in staff a little bit more than what the kind of founding members did, where I think they were a little bit more focused on just building the thing out and getting it up and running. And in the time that I've been here, we went from 2 to 22 people on staff now.
Oh, wow.
In the same building. So it's been like really trying to focus more on the sustainability of the operations through actually, you know, having operational support there, just in case, you know, like somebody wants to quit or move on to another job.
Yeah.
It's not like cardiac arrest for the organization. And we have some funding baked in where we can, you know, a payroll budget.
Yeah, totally.
We can replace people with. Yeah.
That's awesome. And just to end, I want to ask you, what would be, this is something that I've been asking everyone, and I just want to know, like, what would be a concrete action that listeners can take in the next few days, in the next week, to support local food systems?
Yeah, I think for anybody, recognizing that in this country, I think universally we, you know, not everybody, but broad spectrum, we eat way too many things that aren't good for us.
Yeah.
And we know that they aren't good for us, but we just do it anyway because it's convenient. And just acknowledging that when you go to put that food in your mouth, or when you go to buy it, making like a conscientious effort to mark that off in your brain and be like, should I really be buying this?
Yeah.
What am I supporting when I'm buying this? Don't feel bad about it. You know, I'm not trying to guilt anybody, but I think if you have to reconcile with that every single time you go, whether it's fast food, or you're going and buying something from Walmart, or you're clicking and buying a gift off of Amazon, and just understanding that those tax dollars are going and supporting some other thing that isn't connected with you and your community.
Yeah.
The jobs that are being created aren't supporting you or your community. And if you add those things up over the course of just a day, you'll be really surprised. And I think that can start to curb people's patterns and behavior. And the positive effect of that would be more community, you know, more economic development in your hometown, more health, through access to healthy foods.
Yeah.
And more resiliency in the small business community.
Yeah. I love that.
Yeah.
And is there something else you would like to share?
If you are incredibly wealthy, or you know anybody who is, we are actively campaigning. It's a tax deductible donation. We're trying to renovate our building next door, and we don't have enough money to finish it. And so we're stuck in the middle right now. We need a winning lottery ticket or a rich uncle somewhere to come and help us out. So visit our website, donate, and support, because we need it and we appreciate you.
Yeah, support local roots, support local food economies. And thank you so much, Adam. This was great. And stay tuned for our next episode.
Thank you, Anna. It was a pleasure being on.
Yeah.